will not comment on the statements made by certainly one judge. But I have to be honest that if these judges wanted to, in my opinion, help the court in terms of respect for the court, they do what they should be doing. I mean, it's so sad. They should be, when you read something so simple and so beautifully written and so perfectly written, other than the one statement, of course, having to do with he or she. But when you read something so perfectly written and so clear to anybody, and then you have lawyers, and I watched last night in amazement, and I heard things that I couldn't believe. Things that really had nothing to do with what I just read. And I don't ever want to call a court biased, so I won't call it biased. And we haven't had a decision yet. But courts seem to be so political, and it would be so great for our justice system if they would be able to read a statement and do what's right. And that has to do with the security of our country, which is so important. Right now, we are at risk because of what happened. General Kelly is an extremely talented man and a very good man. Now Secretary Kelly, Homeland Security. We are doing our job. He's a great man. We're doing our job, and one of the reasons you probably heard that we did it so quickly, in fact, I said, let's give a 1-month notice. And then law enforcement, and General Kelly was so great because he said, we totally knew about it. We knew about everything. We do things well. We did things right. But the law enforcement people said to me, oh, you can't give a notice, because if you give a notice, you're going to be really tough in 1 month from now or in 1 week from now. I suggested a month, then I said, well, what about a week? They said, no, you can't do that, because then people are going to pour in before the toughness goes on. Do you people agree? I mean, you know more about law than anybody, law enforcement. So I wanted to give like a month. Then I said, well, what about a week? They said, well, then you're going to have a whole pile of people, perhaps, with very evil intentions coming in before the restrictions. So there it is, folks. It's as plain as you can have it. I didn't, and I was a good student. I understand things. I comprehend very well, okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody. And I want to tell you, I listened to a bunch of stuff last night on television that was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. Because what I just read to you is what we have. And it just can't be written any plainer or better. And for us to be going through this, and by the way, a highly, highly respected judge in Boston ruled very strongly in our favor. You heard that. In fact, I said to my people, why don't you use the Boston case? And there were reasons why they couldn't use the Boston case. This one came later, various reasons. But use the Boston case. And I won't read that, but there were statements made by that judge who, again, highly respected, that were right on. They were perfect. They were perfect. So I think it's sad. I think it's a sad day. I think our security is at risk today, and it will be at risk until such time as we are entitled and get what we are entitled to as citizens of this country, as chiefs, as sheriffs of this country. We want security. One of the reasons I was elected was because of law and order and security. That's one of the reasons I was elected. Also, jobs and lots of other things. But I think one of the strongest reasons is security. And they're taking away our weapons one by one. That's what they're doing. And you know it, and I know it, and you people have been very unhappy for a long period of time. And I can read the polls maybe better than anybody, because it seems that I understood the polls a lot better than many of the pollsters understood the polls, assuming they were honest polls, which I think probably many of them weren't. I really believe that. But we need security in our country. We have to allow you folks to do your job. You're great people, great men and women, and we have to allow you to do your jobs. And we have to give you the weapons that you need. And this is a weapon that you need. And they're trying to take it away from you, maybe because of politics or maybe because of political views. We can't let that happen. So, with that, let's get on to business, right? It's really something. Thank you. I want to thank Sheriff Sandra Hutchins and Chief Tom Manger for your leadership and, frankly, for the service. You have had great service. Everyone has told me about you, two legendary people. All of us here today are united by one shared mission: to serve and protect the public of the United States.
Well, for the second consecutive day, Donald Trump is addressing law enforcement officials there and taking the opportunity, before going into more scripted matters, to address the ruling by the Ninth Circuit Appeal Court. Of course, the ruling the decision that they've taken yet to be made clear later in the week, but the hearing was yesterday. He said that he wouldn't pass comment on what that court had done, though he did go on to say that he found disgraceful what happened last night. He actually started with a word-by-word breakdown of what I think the Constitution has to say on this matter in terms of executive powers enjoyed by the President. But he's not very happy. He said it was a sad day for democracy in America. He said security was one of the reasons he was selected by the electorate. And he says he wants to give law enforcement officials all the powers they need. He said he wanted to give a month's notice before imposing that temporary visa ban on people coming from predominantly 7 Muslim-majority countries. But law enforcement officials said, if you do that, Mr. President, people will simply pour in. So he took their guidance with the resulting legal action.